Welcome to the Student Finance. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Student Finance webinar. I'll just leave it a few moments just so everybody is able to enter the webinar, and then we'll begin. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. My name's Ruth Landy, and I'm from the Schools and Colleges Liaison Office at Cardiff University. Today I'll be talking about student finance. I'll look at Student Finance England, and Student Finance England is for those who are ordinarily resident in England, and Student Finance Wales, and Student Finance Wales serves those who are normally residents in Wales. The figures that we have for Student Finance England are for 2021 entry. However, they are still subject to parliamentary approval. We do not have the figures for 2021 entry for Student Finance Wales yet, so we will use the figures for 2021 at this point, but hopefully they'll give you an idea of funding options that may be available. There's quite a lot of information, so what we would recommend is that you do keep an eye on the website of your relevant funding body, because things can change quite quickly, and then you can keep up to date with all the latest information. So to start, what is student finance? Well, student finance is the funding available to you to help cover tuition fee costs and also the general costs of living whilst you're at university. So during this presentation, we will look at tuition fees and the tuition fee loan. We'll look at living costs, and then we'll also look at additional support that may be available to you. We'll look at repayment methods and also give you some hints and tips on budgeting whilst you're at university as well. So just to mention, when we talk about a student loan, there are two aspects. There's the tuition fee loan, and then there's the maintenance loan. So if we have a look at the tuition fee aspect first, universities can charge up to £9,250 per year for their courses. But the good news is that subject to terms and conditions, a tuition fee loan is available that can cover the full amount of the tuition fee. And it's not means tested. So means tested means that it's based on household income. However, as just mentioned, the tuition fee loan isn't means tested. So it means that all those who have the academic ability to go to university are able to do so, and they're not hindered by the cost of the tuition fee. So you can apply for a tuition fee loan that will be paid directly to your university by the student loans company, and this will cover things such as learning, teaching, and general course costs, the facilities that you will be using as well. Now, the second part of the student loan I mentioned was a maintenance loan, and the maintenance loan is to help you with general every day-to-day costs, things such as accommodation, bills, food, perhaps equipment that you might need as well, course books, etc. Now, the maintenance loan is means tested, which means it's dependent on your household income. And unlike the tuition fee loan, whatever amount you're entitled to will be paid directly to you into your bank account. So then you're responsible how you spend it. And it usually is paid in line with when residences, if you choose to live in university accommodation and pay by direct debit, it usually is in line with when residents take their payments. So it will be paid in 3 instalments directly to you. A loan is something you do have to pay back. So we'll talk about different terminology throughout this course. But the amount you are entitled to does vary depending on where you live whilst you're studying. So if we have a look at Student Finance England first, for those who are normally resident in England. So as I said at the beginning of the talk, for anyone who's joined us a little bit late, the figures I'm showing you here are for 2021 entry, so September 2021, but they are still pending parliamentary approval. So the amount of maintenance loan you get does depend obviously on your personal circumstances, because we said it was means tested, but it also depends on where you live whilst you're studying. So if you live at home, in your parental home while you study, you get less than if you live elsewhere. If you live in London, there's a London weighting, so there's an increase in the amount of loan that is available to you. So if we take this middle option, whereby you are living away from home and studying outside of London, there's a maximum of up to £9,488 available. However, the actual amount that you are entitled to does depend, as I mentioned earlier, on your household income. So for those from households where there's a lower income going in, they'll be entitled to the maximum grant. So if they have £25,000 or under, it's part of their household income, they're entitled to the maximum grant of £9,488. And obviously the amount of loan somebody's entitled to decreases as the household income increases. So those at the higher end of the scale from higher household incomes, they receive less loan. So you can see at the end of the graph, those from households which have an income of £62,286 or over, they're only entitled to the lower amount of the loan. You can also see a kind of lighter shade, a lilac colour, and that counts for parental contribution. So student funding body does assume that parents will be contributing to their child's living costs if they are coming from perhaps a household where there's a higher income. Student Finance Wales, again, the amount that you're entitled to for a maintenance loan depends on where you live whilst you study. So if you're living at home with your parents, then you are entitled to less than if you live elsewhere. And again, if you study in London and live away from home, then there's a higher amount available again. The difference between Student Finance Wales and Student Finance England, based on their 2020 figures, is that there is a grant still available in Wales. Now, I've mentioned earlier that you repay a loan, but a grant is money that you do not have to repay. It is based on household income, and the amount of grant that you get is offset against the loan. So if I explain this by using our next table, in Wales, based on the 2020 entry figures, everybody gets the same amount depending on where they live whilst they're studying. So everybody in the orange columns you can see is entitled to £9,810. But how that is broken down in terms of how much grant they get, remember grants are non-repayable, and how much loan they get, which is repayable, very much depends on their household income. So if you look at the top of the chart, those with an income, a household income of £18,370 or less are entitled to £8,100 in grant, and then entitled to a lower amount in student loan, and then that adds up to 9,810. We're down the other end of the chart, those from a higher household with a higher income, they receive more student loan, which they will have to repay back once they finish studying, but a lower amount of grant. And those from the highest thresholds, who come from a household with an income of £59,200 or over, they still receive a grant, but they receive the minimum grant of £1,000, and then the rest of the money is made up via student loan. Student Finance Wales normally update their figures early in the new year, so probably late January, February time. So again, do keep an eye on Student Finance Wales website. So what is really, really important is that you apply on time. You need to make sure you apply by the deadline to make sure you receive the money at the start of the academic year. So make sure you set a time aside to apply, to fill out the application. If you're applying for means-tested funding, then you'll also need your parents' help and information from them. Application cycle usually opens in early spring, but again, keep an eye on Student Finance Wales's website or Student Finance England's website. Main thing to say is there's no need to wait until your course choice is confirmed, okay? Don't miss the deadline. If you're still waiting to hear back from the universities to which you've applied, just put down the university that you would like to go to. And if this changes at any stage, as long as you inform Student Finance Wales or Student Finance England, then they can just update your records. But it is really important you inform them of any changes. So as I say, make sure that you do inform the Student Finance Company of any changes. So if you apply to study a certain course on your finance application, and then things change, maybe because you weren't offered a place on that course, or come results day, unfortunately, you didn't make the grades for that course, that's fine. You just need to let Student Finance Wales or England know the details of the new university and the new course which you will be studying. And if you do not do this, then unfortunately your funding cannot be paid to you. So it's really, really important you keep them up to date. Similarly, you may be unsure as to whether you want to go to university at the moment, and you leave it until clearing time to apply for a course, in which case you just need to make your funding application then to Student Finance Wales or Student Finance England. And there's lots of helpful information, as I say, on their websites and also on university websites too. So please do have a look. So loans do need to be repaid. So we'll take a quick look now at repayment. The good thing is that your repayment is based on what you earn and not what you owe. For those of you who are thinking of perhaps doing courses which last slightly longer, that will hopefully come as good news to you. Also, you do not start repaying until you earn over the repayment threshold, which is currently £26,575. Now, the repayment threshold is reviewed annually, but that is the current repayment threshold. Repayment comes normally out of your bank account if you're employed in one monthly payment, and what you repay is 9% on your earnings of £26,575. So on your earnings over £26,575. So for example, if you earn £27,000, then obviously you're only paying 9% on the difference between the repayment threshold and £27,000, which off the top of my head is £425, okay? And that's then divided into monthly payments, so that'll be divided by 12. If your salary drops below the repayment threshold, then your repayments stop too until you start earning over that repayment threshold again. So the idea is that repayment is manageable. Okay, based on what you earn, not what you owe. And if you haven't repaid your full student loan by 30 years, then it is written off. So from the moment you take out your student loan, you are paying interest. The rate varies, it's in line with the RPI, Retail Price Index. And then once you are earning money, once you've graduated, it is in line with how much you are actually earning. So you've got a short video which explains the interest rate on your student loan.
Students have to pay interest on any student loans they borrow. They'll be charged interest from the day we make their first payment to them or to their uni or college until their loan has been repaid in full or cancelled. The amount they're charged is based on the Retail Price Index, or RPI. RPI measures inflation, which shows how prices change over time. So if inflation is 5%, a burger that costs £5 this year will cost £5.25 next year. While they're studying, they'll be charged RPI plus 3%. From the April after they finish or leave their course, how much interest they're charged will depend on their income. But the important thing to remember is that the amount of interest they're charged doesn't affect how much they'll repay each month.
Okay, so based on that information, we've just got a very quick quiz. If you want, you can put the answers, or you can just have a think to yourself. If you earn £28,000 a year, how much of your student loan would you repay each month? And there's 4 options for you there. Got £10.69 a month, £11.22 per month, £12.77 per month, or £13.86. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. If you want to, as I say, just drop it in the Q&A, which you should see at the bottom of your screen, or you can, as I say, just think to yourself. So remember, you're paying 9% on what you earn over the repayment threshold of £26,575. Nothing like a bit of maths on a Friday lunchtime, is there? Okay, so the answer is £10.69. So hopefully that shows you how manageable it is. There is a cost to going to university, but you're investing in your future, studying a subject that you like to hopefully go into a career that you really enjoy, and then the repayment method is manageable. So if we break that down even further, having a look at various incomes each year before tax. So obviously, as we said earlier, if you earn £26,575 or below, then we won't start charging you any repayments. But then once you earn over that repayment, then it's 9% on what you earn over £26,575. So if you earn £31,000 each year before tax, then it'll be 9% on £4,425, which works out as £33.19. So it's bite-sized, it's manageable. And after 30 years, if you haven't repaid, then as we say, the loan is wiped. But it's based on what you earn and not what you owe. So we've looked at maintenance loans, we've looked at tuition fee loans. There's also additional support available. And please do have a look at university websites to find out more, because it will vary university to university. So they will offer things such as bursaries, scholarships or grants, and all of these are money that you do not have to pay back. Bursaries are non-competitive. Usually they are means tested or based on your financial need, and usually are automatic allocation. So in Cardiff, we've got a number of bursaries. For example, we've got bursaries for care leavers, bursaries for people who've been in the armed forces, bursaries for student carers, bursaries for asylum seekers. We've got the Cardiff University bursary as well, and that's for students who come from households where there's a household income of lower than £35,000 a year, and then you can get £1,000 in the first year and then £500 in every subsequent year of your course. Scholarships are competitive, they're based on academic merit. So it could be that an alumni of a course has bequeathed money to that school and they're able to offer a scholarship. Again, have a look at different universities and different courses within universities, and they'll have various things available. So they are competitive, not necessarily just academic based. You could get sports scholarships, for example, and they're a mixture of automatic and application allocation. So you may need to sit an extra exam, for example, for certain scholarships. It really does depend. With bursaries, I mentioned they tend to be automatic allocation. That very much depends if you've allowed the student finance body to share your financial details with the institution. So at Cardiff, again, we've got a scholarship. It's for certain subjects only, eligible degree subjects, where you have to have a minimum of 3 A's. It's A-level or equivalent. There's various terms and conditions, but you can get £3,000 over the course of your degree with the Cardiff University Scholarship. Also have a look at grants. Have a look at your student funding body for more information on that as well. So there will be grants available for students with disabilities, for students perhaps who have a dependent, so an adult dependence grant. Have a look if you've got a full-time student, you have children. There are various grants that you may be eligible for. But again, often it can be based on household income. So have a look at the terms and conditions and see if there's anything additional that may be relevant for you. Now, if you are thinking of studying one of the courses that you can see in the red box on the screen and studying in Wales, so it doesn't matter if you're from England or from Wales, but you're looking at studying one of these healthcare courses within a university in Wales, you have 2 options in terms of funding. So you can either go down the normal student finance route, which we've discussed, or you can have a look at NHS funding and apply for the NHS bursary route. Again, bursary means money that you don't have to pay back, but there are conditions. If you decide to study one of these courses in a Welsh university and go down the NHS bursary funding route, then your tuition fee costs will be covered for the duration of your course. There's a bursary for living costs. You can apply for the standard bursary that isn't means tested, so that is not based on household income, or you can apply for the full amount where you get the standard bursary and also an amount based on your household income. And you can also apply for a reduced rate maintenance loan from the student finance company. There may also be additional support for travel costs and accommodation while you go on placement with your course. However, you will have to commit to working in Wales after your qualification, and you have to commit to that in advance. The amount of time you have to commit to depends on the level of qualification you're studying. So if you're studying for a degree, then you have to commit to working in Wales for 2 years post-qualification. and it's 18 months if you're studying towards a diploma. Now, if you don't want to make that commitment, that's absolutely fine. You can still study these courses in Wales. You just choose to go through the normal student finance route, applying through either Student Finance England if you're ordinarily resident in England, or Student Finance Wales if you're resident in Wales. If you're thinking of studying a healthcare course in England, then there's a website that you should be able to see on your screen now. Have a look. We're not sure what opportunities are available for 2021 just yet, but they will be updated on the website that you can see there now. There have been NHS bursaries for select courses in 2020, so just keep an eye on that website for further details. So when you are a student, as I say, if you apply for a maintenance loan, it gets paid directly into your bank account, and there are lots and lots of different student bank accounts out there. So make sure you do your research, shop around. Don't get drawn in by the freebies. Some bank accounts might say, here's £50 as an incentive if you open your account with us. That sounds good, but another bank may offer you a better rate, or they may offer you something like a student rail card that you might get more use out of than a one-off payment of £50. Do your research, shop around, and make sure you look for a 0% overdraft. Budgeting is something that's really, really important as a student. Ooh, I'm getting a bit excited there. The first thing you need to know is exactly how much money you've got coming in from things such as loans, grants, scholarships, bursaries, savings, if you've got a part-time job, parental contribution. So work out what your income is. Be realistic. Then work out your essential outgoings, so things like accommodation, your rent, things like bills, any travel costs that you might have. Maybe build in a little contingency. Some months are going to be more expensive than others, things crop up. And then whatever is left over is your disposable income for you to spend how you want. But make sure you think carefully how long that money has to last you. Okay, so as I say, your student maintenance loan gets paid directly into your bank account in 3 instalments, but each term is a slightly different length. So work out how many weeks the term is, how long your money has to last you, so that you're not short at the end. So Phoebe is a recent Cardiff University graduate. She's given some advice here. As she says, it's not fun or glamorous, but it is really important to be realistic and to make an honest budget. And it's important to stick to that budget as well. And there's lots of help and guidance online from our Money and Advice team, and other universities will have similar help too. And don't forget, with your NUS card, there'll be lots of discounts that you can use as a student when you go to shops. So budgeting tips: save where you can. Be realistic. Do not spend money that you don't have. That's something that's really, really important. Student discounts I've just mentioned. There's lots and lots of incentives, student rail cards that you can invest in to make your money go further. It's really, really important that you think carefully how you're going to spend your money. Plan your meals in advance, maybe limit takeaways, learn to cook. You might pool resources with your flatmates, so you may not need to have 4 pints of milk yourself, so you might have a kitty where certain things you buy as a flat, and that might save you money. Don't go shopping hungry. That's definitely something I would advise. In terms of textbooks, at Cardiff University, we've got the Blackwell's Bookshop in the Students' Union, where you can buy second-hand textbooks. So it means that you're saving money, and then you can sell your books to the bookshop afterwards as well for the next year of students to buy. So when you get your course list, there are some books that you will want to have, some that you can just loan from the library. Don't feel that you have to buy all of them, and do consider buying pre-owned textbooks as well. So in terms of budgeting, again, we've got another interactive few questions for you. We've got the basket challenge. The prices were collected from Tesco online in January 2020. Other supermarkets do exist. We've got the value basket, and then we've got the branded basket. All the same items, just obviously Tesco's branded milk as in comparison to a high street name. What is the difference in price between the two baskets of shopping? Again, you've got 4 choices. Have a think. If you would like to add your choice in the Q&A, please do. If not, keep it to yourself. I'll give you a couple of seconds to think what the difference may be between the 2 baskets. Okay, so £2.36, £7.89, £9.33, or £10.10p. Okay, thank you to those who have added to the chat. Okay, £10.10p. Anyone else want to make a suggestion? A couple of seconds. And the answer is £9.33. Okay, so I'm not saying you have to sit there and buy supermarket branded items. It just shows how shopping around, being a little bit savvy, can save you money. And £9.33, if you save that every week of term, then in total you would save £345.21, which is a considerable amount. Okay. Let's move on to the next slide. My computer appears to have frozen. Bear with me just a second. There we go. So we've got a similar question. You know, it's always nice as you're walking into a lecture, into work, into the library, get yourself a cup of coffee. And if a takeaway filter coffee costs on average £2.40 and you bought a cup every weekday during term time, how much do you reckon that would cost you? Okay, again, 4 options. If you want to add your answers to the chat, which will be in the bottom of your screen on the kind of toolbar or taskbar, then please do. And the 4 options are £252, £360, £415, or £444. Let's know what you think. Okay, so the answer, if you did buy a cup every weekday during term time, is bear with me, I don't know why, but my computer is freezing. It's £444. So again, you can just see how small things add up, and it'd be quite easy to buy one of those travel kind of cups that you can get, which keep your drinks warm. And you save yourself a considerable amount of money. I'm not saying that you can't go and get a takeaway coffee every now and then, but if you wanted to save money, that would be a really good way of doing it. Extra income. How else can you perhaps earn money to increase your disposable income? Well, here are some examples on the screen. Obviously, there's part-time work that you can do. Cardiff are a capital city, so normally there are lots of different jobs about. It's obviously a slightly different circumstance at the moment with the pandemic, but we have jobs in the city centre, in shops that people sign up for. The only thing is we would say be careful with regards to the amount of hours you work. It shouldn't affect or impact on your studies. Something we do have though is the Cardiff University Job Shop, which means you can just sign up for work within the university and sometimes outside of the university as and when you've got time. So if towards the end of term you've handed in all your essays and you have a little bit more time available to you, then you could sign up and work, and there's no contract. And it's things such as student ambassadors helping out with open days. You may have talked to some of our student ambassadors during our virtual open days, or perhaps during last night's presentation with our student ambassadors. We need students to blog for us. Sometimes local shops come to us and say we need people to help with events that are going on in the stadium, or because it's going to be busy, we just need a few extra people that day to help us in the restaurant. So there is kind of non-contractual work available through the job shop. There's paid research placements sometimes available. So SureUp is Cardiff University Research Opportunities. And that basically covers a range of areas, and it means that students get experience and also money as well. So if they're thinking of going into postgraduate study, it can be really useful. Holiday work, you get long holidays from university. So some people just work during the perhaps Easter or during the summer, and then obviously be very nice to your family, and hopefully they will be giving you some extra income to tide you over. So what next? Keep an eye on your student funding body for updates. As I say, that is really important, and it's something you can go to if you ever have any additional questions. So there's lots of helpful information and tips on there. When you come to fill out your finance application, as I say, make sure you don't delay, even if you're not sure which course you're going to study at this point and you haven't heard back from all of your 5 choices. Make sure you have the relevant documentation to hand, and there's more information about that on each of the student finance bodies' websites. So you'll need ID. Often this could be a valid passport, and you don't send your passport away, you just put the passport number, and obviously you'll need information from your parents as well if you're applying for means tested funding. And think ahead to bank accounts and budgeting, and make sure you keep on top of that. That's something that's really important. If you want to chat to our current students about student life, about budgeting, then have a look at our student bloggers, and they're available on our website. And then obviously if you have any further questions, then you can always get in touch with us. Our website has a lot of information. There's our phone number that you can see as well. Also, every Wednesday between 4 and 6 p.m, a group of us will be online via UniBuddy, and we can answer questions that you have via live chat. So please, do make use of that if you have any additional questions. In the meantime, if you would like to ask any questions based on student finance, we have the chat section that I mentioned. Please post your questions in the chat section, and we will help in whatever way we can. So I will give you a few minutes just to do that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And then if you do have any questions, then please let us know. Okay, so we've had a question sent. Thank you very much. There's chat and there's Q&A, so please do send them in. When should we apply for student finance? So you should apply for student finance before the deadline, as soon as possible. As I say, don't wait to find out from all of your 5 choices. If you're still waiting to hear back from them, you don't want to miss the deadline, because that could mean that you would not get your money on time. If you end up not getting made an offer from the university that you were hoping for, you can always contact your student finance body and change the course that you have registered for. It's really important the student finance body knows which course and university you're studying in, and you keep that up to date if there are any changes, because they check with the university that you've enrolled before they release their payment to you. So it is really, really important. How can I find this recorded session? Thank you for that question as well. I believe we hope to put them on our website, but we will if you are interested in the recorded sessions, send an email to schools@cardiff.ac.uk. That's the plural of schools. Sorry, that's the plural of schools. So SCHOOLS, schools@cardiff.ac.uk, and we can then send you the link to where they are on our website once they have been collated and put up. But we do hope to be able to share them with you afterwards. Had some more questions come in. Again, thank you very much. What happens if I choose to use NHS funding but end up working in England instead of Wales once I graduate? So it's really important that you think carefully about which route of funding you want to take if you're thinking of studying one of the NHS subjects that I mentioned, because if you do take the NHS bursary, whereby you get your tuition fees paid and there's money towards your maintenance and living costs that you don't have to pay back, the condition is that you are committing to working to Wales for a period after you graduate. So that's 2 years if you're doing a degree, or 18 months if you're doing a diploma. If things change, it could be that you are then responsible for paying that money back that you had, which is why it's really, really important you think carefully which route you want to take. You don't have to take the NHS bursary route. You could go down the student finance route, and then you don't have to commit to working in Wales after. There are some, obviously, some things aren't as clear-cut. If there is a genuine reason why your circumstances change, such as, I don't know, maybe a bereavement or something like that, which means then you would have to obviously discuss that with the NHS, the funding body. But as a rule, if you decide to take the NHS bursary and then don't work and don't follow up on your commitment to work in Wales for 2 years afterwards, then I believe you would be responsible for repaying the money that you had through the bursary. So it is something to think about. Chat to people. There's lots of help and advice. There's, you can chat to people at universities, advice teams on open days. There's normally people like that you can chat to as well, just to make the right decision for you. Let's have a look. Is Cardiff an affordable city? So although Cardiff is a capital city, it is an affordable city. So if you have a look on our website, there's lots of information about Cardiff and affordability. As I say, as with any university, it's really, really important. Take a look at rent, take a look at general living costs as well, and also make the most of, student discounts. But Cardiff, although it is a capital city, it is an affordable city to live in. So that's something that we're proud of. Our next question: what student finances options are available for medicine at Cardiff? And how do I prove my chances of getting student finance? So student finance, as I say, there's an element of student finance. So the question, just to, I'm aware that you can't see the question. So what student finance options are available for medicine at Cardiff? So for medicine at Cardiff, you follow the normal student finance option. So it isn't the NHS bursary. I think in the first 4 years, it's the normal student finance option. And then there's some slight different finance available in the 5th year. So it would be the normal student finance option for the most of your course. How do I improve my chances of getting student finance? As I say, you have to apply. Some parts of the student finance, such as tuition fee, loan, are not household income assessed, but others are. So then it would be based on your personal circumstances in terms of student finance. Any other questions? If you do think of any questions after this session, or perhaps you'd like to discuss something more privately with us, then please do feel free to email us on schools@cardiff.ac.uk, as mentioned. So that's schools@cardiff.ac.uk. We've also got an advice and money team on our website. There's a lot of information. So I don't know if one of my colleagues in the background might like to perhaps ping the website link into the chat for people to have a look. And obviously then you can get in touch with the advice and money team if you've got any specific questions about general student finance or NHS kind of routes as well. Let's have a look. Got some more questions here. Bear with me. How do I find the website for student finance? So if you mean student finance, so the question is, how do I find the website for student finance? Student Finance Wales, if you just Google Student Finance Wales, that would be if you're ordinarily resident in Wales. Student Finance England, again, if you just Google Student Finance England and it will come up. But Rachel, perhaps I could ask you if you could put the website links for Student Finance Wales and Student Finance England in the chat as well, so that our audience can see. And as I say, there's lots of helpful information on both those websites, but just be aware that in Wales, they only have the figures for 2020 entry at the moment. England, although they have released preliminary figures for 2021 entry, so for those starting this September, they still need to be approved by Parliament. So that's something that's just to be aware of. Okay, so if you have any more questions, please do let us know. Okay, does being an international student affect your shot at getting student finance for medicine? So if I'm honest, I don't know enough about finance for international students, and I would recommend you contact our international office. Rachel, if you could put in the chat the website for our international office, because finance is completely different for international students. So this is mainly based on UK students, unfortunately. Rachel will put the contact details in the chat for our international office, and we recommend if you get in touch with them, and they'll be able to tell you a little bit more about student finance for international students. And then obviously if you let them know you're hoping to study medicine, they shall hopefully be able to give you more specific information about that. Another question's come in. Thank you, Charlotte. Do I pay back my tuition loan separately to my maintenance loan? No. So your tuition fee loan and your maintenance loan are grouped together. They become one loan. It's called a student loan. And as I say, that is what you repay, and you only start repaying once you earn higher than the repayment threshold, which is £26,575. Okay, so they're seen as one combined loan, even though we talk about them as two separate things in terms of the application. When you come to repayment, they're taken as one combined loan. Thank you. Thank you also, Rachel, for putting in International's contact details. Could you also put the website for International in the chat as well, please, Rachel, for our attendees, so that they can hopefully find out a little bit more information. If you have any other questions, I will stay online just in case. I think. I'm just double checking I've not missed any. Okay, and as I say, if you do think of anything, please either email us afterwards or join us for our chat on a Wednesday. That's at 4 till 6 o'clock British time, and it's Uni Buddy, and members of our schools liaison team will be there, and we'll try and answer your questions as quickly as possible, or find out the answers from colleagues if they're more specific. So yes, do let us know. Right. So yes, the presentation was based on Student Finance Wales, Student Finance England, and mainly aimed at UK students. But as I say, we've had a question about international student finance. If you get in touch with our international team, and they'll be able to help you and give you more specific money in terms of course costs, and then obviously help you budgeting, though that's always important regardless of whether you're an international student or a UK student, making sure that you know how much money you've got coming in, and obviously making sure that you budget appropriately, so that your money lasts you for the whole time. Any further questions? Thank you, Rachel, for putting in the international link for us there. Okay. So I can't see any further questions coming in. So hopefully this has helped. Do have a look at our website. Look at different university websites as well in terms of any scholarships or grants that they may offer, that may supplement any funding that you get from Student Finance Wales or Student Finance England. Make sure you apply on time. As I say, budgeting is really, really important. And yeah, do get in touch if you have any further questions. We hope this has been of use. And we hope that you have a lovely rest of the day. Enjoy your weekend and good luck with all of your applications. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we hope to see you again soon. Take care. Thank you.